Welcome everyone, my name is Kimmana and today we're going to go through a class about Ayurveda and how we can use Ayurveda to individualise our yoga practice, how everyone is an individual and how we can address that individuality using the system of Ayurveda. Before we begin, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about myself and what drew me to Ayurveda in the first place. I come from an entire family of holistic healers and educators, and at an early age I knew holistic healing was my life path. When I left school, I studied naturopathy, and during my naturopathic degree, I became a little disillusioned with the modern scientific model. The modern scientific model is all about thousands of different categories. How can we understand something specific, unique difference? And intellectually, we have to remember every little detail about it, and then how it connects to something else. When we're trying to study holistic medicine, this becomes a little bit of a headache. It's hard to see the whole when you've got thousands of unique little categories. I became very attracted towards traditional medicine systems, and specifically Ayurveda. And the reason is that traditional medicine is very good at looking at the whole. What they do is they create common language systems. These common language systems are the same, whether or not we're looking at a plate of food, a body, a weather pattern, a business. It doesn't matter what aspect of life it is, you can use the same common language system. And that enables you to see how everything connects together. There's many different aspects of these common language systems within Ayurveda and most traditional medicine systems. We're going to get into a few of these specific ones today. But what I found with this study of Ayurveda is that it really enables us to see what is our uniqueness, and at the same time, how does that connect to the whole in a really beautiful, efficient and simplistic manner. When I finished my naturopathic degree, I was already teaching Ayurveda at 3 colleges on the Gold Coast. But it wasn't until going to India that it really brought a new depth of field, and I discovered a whole lot more than just an amazing holistic medicine system in the original Vedic roots. Just to give you an understanding of these Vedic roots, I'm going to talk about what I refer to as the Trinity of Vedic science. So this Trinity of Vedic science, this Trinity of Vedic science has 3 different aspects to it. We're all very familiar with yoga, which originally is intended as the science of the mind. It's designed to unite our individual soul with a larger universal consciousness that is there. Jyotish, also referred to as Vedic astrology, is the science of light and spirit. There is a green one too. Sorry guys. Jyotish is intended as how we understand our individual purpose here. Yesterday I did a class on Ayurvedic astrology and going into what is our unique purpose within this larger picture of creation. Ayurveda is the science of matter and form. And its purpose is to preserve life in form. So it's having a look at, we have a body, how can we preserve this life in form? And all of these sciences are really looking that everything is one. We're part of one enormous connected being. And this being has different aspects to understand, different purposes that we focus as we look at science. So as we understand subjective science, it slightly changes depending upon which subject we look at. In Ayurveda, we're specifically looking about preserving life in form. So when it comes to lengthening your body's life, Ayurveda is extremely good at understanding how these principles relate to your body, your life. Why do we want to preserve life in form? In Ayurveda, they say it's to apply 3 dharmic actions, righteous actions. Righteous action towards the self, righteous action towards another, and righteous action towards the world. Out of these 3 dharmic actions, Ayurveda is most concerned about righteous action towards the self, because it's the first step. If you haven't taken righteous action towards yourself, how can you truly support the life of another? two of the most common language systems that we see amongst the Ayurvedic system, and most people will have heard of them before. Many different common language systems, but the first one at the top here is known as the doshas. And we have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Many people will have heard of these doshas translated as a body type, and it's a very small part of what a dosha actually is. I find that the most correct translation is a functional principle of reality. What that means is it shows how reality has a tendency to function. Vata is responsible for all movement in the world. Pitta is responsible for all transformation in the world. Kapha is responsible for all cohesion. It doesn't matter what it is in the world, we could look at it and we can see how much Vata is there, how much Pitta is there, how much Kapha is there. If there's more Vata, there's going to be more movement. If there's more Pitta, more transformation, more Kapha, more cohesion. Their direct translation, dosha, is actually defect, which shows how important these are when it comes to looking at the source of disease. This common language system of the doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, doesn't matter whether you're looking at a weather pattern, at a body, at an organ, at a business, you can use the same thing, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, see how much is there within that, and it'll show you where the root of disease is coming from. So it's very good for tracking the source point of any disease. Whether someone's having an imbalance in its sciatica and pain or a nervous system insomnia, we can see, which category of life is that coming from? And then we'll be able to see where the cause may be associated. The next common language system is these 5 elements here. These 5 elements, ether, air, fire, water and earth, are more associated with the essential building blocks of life. These essential building blocks is like the Ayurvedic chemistry table. It's what all of life is built out of, except this chemistry table also accounts for space, spirit. We're going to go into more detail about these essential building blocks because a lot of people will go into the detail about the doshas. So I'd like to cover something that is not the norm amongst Ayurveda, something that people may not have learned so much of before. These green lines here show how this connects together. So Vata is a functional principle that predominantly controls and works with ether, space, air principles. Pitta is a functional principle that predominantly works with fire and water. Kapha, a functional principle that predominantly works with water and earth. A lot of people will say that Vata is ether and air. It's not technically correct. They are separate common language terms. And if we were to really look at it, Vata is a functional principle that works with all 5 elements. It just predominantly works with ether and air. We're going to have a look at these 5 elements and start to unpack how we recognize them in the world. Because it's the first stage for any common language system. We've got to be able to see how much of that element is present, whether it's a yoga practice or within someone's body or a weather pattern. We've got to see how much of that is there. So these are the 5 elements we've got across the top: ether, air, fire, water and earth. They represent like a spectrum of reality, from its most subtle and its most light to its most dense and heavy. Like any spectrum, like a colour spectrum as well, we're going to have bleed between them. It's not like clear cut, boom, boom. If you have colours that mould between, then they'll have a little bit of qualities that are shared. So the closer the element is to it, the closer it may share qualities. We're going to go through these one at a time and have a look at these qualities and how we would recognise them. I've only put up what I consider the 5 most important words. There's many different words if we had lots of time. And normally in small class, I would bring these qualities Next one, it's immeasurable. How do you measure where is the edge of space? It's like this undescribableness that's about ether. It's a mysterious quality. If we look at a lot of different medicine systems around the planet, it's the elements that often gets forgotten about. We look at Thai traditional medicine, which originally comes from Ayurveda. It's an Ayurvedic sage that brought it across to Thailand. They lost the ether element during the transfer over a few hundred years. They stuck with the ones that were easier for us to understand and comprehend. Because it's so measurable, it's a little mysterious, and it's easy to forget that it's there. Especially because it is formless. So we never see the ether element. It's not something that I can grasp with my hand, and explain easily. It's very subtle. What that means is that its influence is a little bit harder to detect. It's more of a vibrational influence that's there. It's something that we feel more than we see or grasp. As we move along to the element of air, this one is specifically responsible for all movement. Wind, it's like movement going in all directions constantly. So movement is not really easy to predict. Of all the elements, it's the most erratic. If I try to push wind across the room, I have very little understanding of where that wind went. It's in constant motion, always going in a different direction. Its nature is cold. I often teach this in Thailand, and people are like, the air is not cold here. But actually, even in that hot climate, if we turn on a fan, it's still going to cool us down. That same nature of air is always there. We increase air, it will start to cool us down. Again, dry, same thing in Thailand. It's not dry, this air. But even there, if we spill a glass of water, we turn a fan on, it's going to dry quicker. Its quality, even in like 100% humidity, the more air and wind, the more that it's going to dry. And it's light. So this one is also light, but it's so light it's just not even measurable. This one is light, and it's now slightly measurable, but not according to our weight scales. It's still in the realm of something that's very light and uplifting, and that's why it moves upwards. We can see that this spectrum could go from space way up there. As we come down, we've now got air, and then we get to the surface of the planet, we have fire. And we'll have a look at why the whole surface of the planet is so full of fire is because there's so much transformation going on. There's one word to remember with fire, it's transformation. It's this constant principle that's transforming things. A lot of people will say, oh, fire is destructive. And at the same time as it may have destroyed, it also created something else. It's really transformative. So it's constantly changing form and enabling the other elements to be able to transform. That's why it sits in the middle of the elements, because it's working with this transformation on either side. The main element that produces heat, so anywhere there's heat recognisable, then we know fire is involved. I like to use the word intense with fire because it has this powerful intensity. You know when fire's around. You can't walk past the fire without noticing it. If a fire person comes into the room, then you know about it. They're like, oh, there's this intensity. If someone really starts to express fire, there's this sharpness, intense sharpness about their voice as they get into you. That's a really penetrating quality that we have with fire. So wherever we have more of that intensity, whether it's a yoga practice, whether we see it in life, then there's going to be more of the fire qualities that are present. This one's interesting. I've got a little upward arrow. We've got some outward moving spirals like the sun. A lot of people would say that fire is erratic. Who thinks that fire is erratic or chaotic? Please raise your hand. We've got most of the room now. Yet, really, fire is actually quite predictable. We know that it's going to have two main movements. It moves upwards. If I lit a fire at one of those poles, I'd be able to then its secondary movement is it's going to spread outwards. So it's the same thing, it fires inside the body. It likes to rise to the top, it rises, the person gets a face flush, and then it likes to spread outwards. Maybe the person's going through their fire stage of life, puberty and hormones, and acne rises to the face, and they want to spread out. Or the person's in their entrepreneurial prime and they want to rise to the top of their field and then spread their fame across the world. It's the same principles. What makes fire erratic? Which element? Air. This is when fire becomes erratic. If you have a candle sitting there, it just burns perfectly still. It's because of fire's predictability that we can even have a candle. Because we know that it completely burns upwards. It's just going to spread outwards. So when someone says, oh, that person, they're unpredictable, and you've got like this fiery, angry type, actually they're pretty predictable too. We know if we poke them in this way, then they're going to get angry and fire up. So that quality is not so fit with the Ayurvedic understanding of fire. As we move on to water, the first one is water is connected. This is what holds everything together. I like to do a demonstration which I put in this moment where we pour our water on the ground. We could make a few different dots of water and then we can put our line between them. And you'll see that once you've made that connection, it holds on. It wants to maintain that connection to this piece of water over here and that piece of water there. It's constantly doing that in life. It's the cohesion factor that holds everything together. So if a person has a lot of water, think of like a loving, nurturing mother. They're just like, I want to hold the family together. I have all of that support to hold everything together. Always about connection. The next one is cool. The water is cool. Air was cold. Water was cool. Next quality as we come down is oily. A lot of people would usually, when I'm in a class of interaction, would say wet. And this is where we start to see the spectrum coming across here. Because in Ayurveda, the word that's used is called snigdha. It's a Sanskrit word, and its direct translation is actually unctuous. It's an old English word that we don't really use anymore. And it's sort of like oily, sticky, lubricating. And if we think of water as oily, sticky, lubricating, it doesn't really lubricate us that much. Like if you've got dry skin, you go and you have a shower, you come back out, dry yourself, you end up with drier skin than you did before. It's because pure water is closer towards this spectrum, closer to the fire end of water. The Ayurveda is actually talking about 80 to 90% of this water spectrum here is more oily, lubricating, which is how most water is kept on the planet. Like coconut water, like all the fluids inside our body are this oily, lubricating. Our plasma is oily and lubricating. So when we think of water from the Ayurvedic sense, think of that, an oily, lubricating type fluid. It's nourishing, and the closer it is towards the earth spectrum, the more oily it is, the more that it's nourishing. At the same time, it has this adaptable quality. It's both nourishing and it's both cleansing. The closer it is towards the fire side, the more that it is cleansing. So if we get pure water, like reverse osmosis filtered pure water, then it's very cleansing. It's pulling minerals out of our body, and it's something that's not very hydrating to us long term, compared to something that has a little bit more minerals in it, earth. It's going to be more on this nourishing spectrum, allow more hydration long term. Next one, earth. Earth is structure. So this building right here, we can see the earth as the structure that holds it up. It's the structure inside our body. If we're looking at a business, it's the structure that holds the business together. It's always doing the same thing, no matter what is going on is its structure, staying in the same plan continually. It's heavy. We've gone from the lightest over here to the heaviest. A lot of people use the word static instead of constant or fixed. But it's not necessarily static and fixed. It still has a degree of where it will go in a certain direction, but once it goes in that direction, it keeps going. You imagine like a big rock that's on top of a mountain, and you've got to try and get this rock moving. It takes like 10 people, and everyone's there getting it going, and then eventually the rock's off, and it's down and down, and it's going to plow through a tree, it's going to go through everything on the way. Because once it's got that direction going, it has a degree of constancy that's there. It's the same inside a human. If they have more of this earth, they may have a belief system that they get stuck on, and they're just like, that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing it, no matter what anyone says, I'm going to maintain on that path. So, constancy. Gross is the next one. Gross means it's physical. It's something that we can see, we can touch, we can really feel and understand. And last one is nourishing. All the elements, just the most nourishing. So this is a real brief introduction of how we would start to perceive these, but I'm pretty sure that even from this brief introduction, you'll be able to guess some of the things of how we would use this. I'm going to try and bring it into a little bit more interaction, and that means if you do want to say something, then please yell it to me. So I'm not going to be able to hear it that well from the back of the room. The first thing we're going to look at is the human body. What do you think is the earth-dominant parts of the human body? Feet. What was that? Feet, yeah. So we've got feet. Our feet are a really complex structure. They've definitely got earth inside them. They've got a lot of other things. I heard bones out there as well. The bones are definitely an earth-dominant part. Important to think that our bones are not just solid, there's also hollow parts to them. So the hollow parts of the bones are going to be ether, because there's space there. But our cranium, the most solid and dense bone in the whole body, is very much earth, solid earth up here. We've got another part of our body that creates our form and our structure and holds us up. It's a system. It is the muscles. So bones and muscles are our earth-dominant parts of the body. Next, we'll move on to water. What's going to be our water-dominant parts of the body? Blood, yeah, and specifically a part of the blood that's all to do with our transportation and connects us. Plasma. So plasma is the nourishing part of our fluid system. It takes nutrients out towards the cells. Then we have a cleansing fluid system. Anyone know the name of that one?
Lymphatic.
Lymph. So we've got plasma and lymph as our dominant water parts. Now we're moving on to fire. What's our dominant fire part of the body? Just put a DS there for the digestive system. We've also got an organ that's auxiliary, works with the digestive system. A lot of people think of it as a detox organ. Now really, the liver is a transformation house. If you want to eat something, first it gets digested in the stomach, small intestine, then it goes into the blood, and the liver has to break it up into things that your brain can use, that your muscle can use. Whether it's going into the body or it's going out of the body, the liver is an amazing organ for transformation. The key fire element with the transformation. Both the digestive system, stomach, small intestine, and the liver are the hottest parts of the body. So we move on to air. What's going to be the dominant air part of the body? Most people will go straight for the lungs. It's very true that the air going in and out is dominant air. Ayurveda is a very physically based system. When we look at the tissue of the lungs, we looked at the mind for fire, it's more the intellectual mind. I'm going to scientifically add up and assess this process. I like numbers. Very fire type. So move on to ether. What's the ether dominant parts of the body? The silence. It's the thing with ether, it's like, oh, it's immeasurable, it's formless. How do we even know what it is? Subtle body, you know? It's the spirit, you know? It's the subtle body, it's the energetic body. Spirit, there. Energetic body, meridian body is the key aspects there. Now let's start to look at some psychology. How would we know earth-dominant psychology? What might an earth-dominant person think or act like?
Like routine or habit?
Yeah, totally. Routine, habit. They really like to do the same things again and again. You know? In their negative, they can be quite stubborn. In their positive, they can be really reliable. It's the type of person you can always depend on. I'm not going to write all the psychology up. There's a little thing that I can give you at the end, so you can get it all there. Water-dominant psychology. Emotional, yeah. And when we say emotional, we often think of like all the emotions. Specifically, what is going to have certain emotions though? It's going to be like sadness, yeah, and love. It's about connecting things together. Now those two emotions, sadness and love, are the two that will make us cry, because water is coming out of the body. We move on to fire. It's going to be fire-dominant psychology. Anger, it's negative anger, frustration, irritation, it's positive. Happiness, joy, passion. It's totally passion, drive, going for a goal. Air-dominant psychology. Anxious, and it's negative, it's going to be anxious, fear, worry. And it's positive. Joy is more associated with enthusiasm. That's definitely there. It's like, oh, I'm so excited about this. It's amazing. That's very much there. Multiplicity, going in all sorts of directions is very there. Ether-dominant psychology. Again, silence. It shows why this element was forgotten about, doesn't it? It's too hard. It's like aloof. It's like, oh, I don't really need to do anything about that. I'm so completely unattached. Think of like the yogi meditating in the cave, and he's like, oh, I'm one with everything that was, everything that is, and everything that will be. I have a family that's just 200 meters away. I haven't seen them in 3 years. I'm here meditating in the cave. Everything's blissful. And there's a fire in the distance, 3 kilometers away, and I can feel it through the ether. It's going to come. It's going to burn the whole family and me. Oh, it doesn't really matter. Everything is impermanent. We really see this quality can be overemphasized in yoga, because yoga's intention was the science of uniting our mind with the divine and spirit. It's a lot about this quality of ether. We're not making anything good or bad, see? It's all about purpose. If your purpose is to preserve life and perform dharmic action on the planet, then Ayurveda can be a step towards that to create a little bit more balance. In the modern world, we start to see a lot more of that in yoga. And yoga is no longer just a system of uniting the mind with spirit. It's now becoming more of an exercise system. And that's why it's really important to start to look at Ayurveda to see how we can balance that. There's a quote from Dr. David Frawley, who's one of the most renowned scholars of the Vedic sciences in the Western world. Those who want to practice yoga as either exercise or therapy should look to Ayurveda in order to learn how to integrate yoga practices into constitutional methods and individualized disease treatment plans. Basically, if you want to get really individual
resistance.
Resistance. Resistance exercise. So if I want to build my earth, I use the earth that's around me. I could just be doing a lunge. And in my lunge, I could be sitting here, I could do a little air start. Or I could I'm scissoring my legs through the floor. I'm now using the earth and my earth and structure together to build more earth inside my body. So this can be done anytime with that resistance that's there. What's going to be the water dominant exercise? What's that? Flow, yeah. Flow. And a key part of water dominant exercise is rhythm. If we actually trace back this word rhythm, the RH at the beginning of rhythm denotes fluid. Hemorrhage, diarrhea, all of these have that RH that denotes fluid. And what it is, it's a rhythm and a pulse that goes back to the same place. So if your rhythm is like, and then it's like, oh, what's next? Oh, the same thing. It's so soothing to the body. It's like that could just be nourishing, cooling, nurturing, compared to like, oh yeah, the nice flow, going on, next movement, next movement, next movement, and that's now become a lot of air. So the more that we can have that simple, repetitive rhythm, the more that it's cooling and nourishing. I was in the Feldenkrais class before. That's very water. It's like, it's not even about reaching the end of your limit. It's just about feeling how connected I am right throughout the body. It's really water dominant. Fire dominant exercise. Big room. Great quality. It's like it's a heated room. It's an intellectual system. You go in there and you do the same thing. Everyone does the same thing. I've been in a bigger class and I started to individualize and he's like, no, that's not the system. It's all about this intellectual system that's going on. So it's not to say that it's bad. If you want more willpower, intensity, you want to go for your goals in life, then a fire dominant type of yoga could be great for you. It's going to build transformation, increase digestion, all of those qualities. Chances are, though, if you're attracted to Bikram, you're probably already a fire dominant type, and you've probably already got a lot of those qualities, and it may not be the most balancing practice. I'll put intensity as my word again for fire. Any form of exercise that's got a lot of intensity to it. Air dominant exercise. What do we think is air dominant? Vinyasa, so we've got a lot of change. Then it could be, if it's a simple rhythm vinyasa, then not so much. Pranayama, when it comes to yoga, pranayama is very air dominant. And in order to make it more air dominant, we've got to move faster.
Dancing.
Dancing could be, as long as it's not like salsa. See, with salsa, then it's like control, fire, intellectual system. If it's like free dance, yeah, let's do it for let's do like a jellyfish. And that's really air dominant. It's really going in all sorts of directions, So it depends on how you apply it. A lot of people often say, oh, water, oh, swimming. But it's about how you apply it. I could do swimming in a really fire-type, intense and driven way. This really starts to come into, in a yoga practice, people say, oh, Ayurvedic yoga, this posture is for this dosha, and this posture is for that dosha. What is 10 times more important is your attitude that you bring to the practice. How you perform the pose, and the way in which you do it, the quality of these elements that you bring through it is 10 times more powerful than the specific pose doing a specific action. So we've got air. I'm going to put breath. quick breaths, lots of different movements, and that's going to be more air. If we're jogging, that's going to be really air. Ether dominant exercise. Yeah, meditation. Third, it's going to be something that's stillness. We've got meditation up there. Now, if we start to really bring it into yoga, then we've got a lot more than just what we've outlined up here. So I'm going to give you a quick little understanding. For ether, we would also have prayer. It's talking to this infinite that's out there. Mantra is very ether dominant. Yeah? We use the ether action organ of the voice. Every single one of these elements has a sense organ and an action organ in the body as well. And the more we use that action organ, the more it activates that certain element. So, ether, we've got prayer, Om as the mantra, that's really like the dial tone to the universe, everything that's out there. Vedanta, Shaktipat, healing through energy, prana and chakras, very ether dominant. Air, we've got pranayama, we've got identified direction. Your theme in the class, where are we moving towards? What is that movement in our intention, our mind's intention that's going somewhere? Joint mobilization, palpation if you're touching the other person, speaking in the class. We've also got pranas and chakras again with air. Fire, yoga that uses an intellectual system, so we do this process because of that, or you've got lower back pain, you have to do this for that. Anything that's intellectual has got more fire to it. Anatomy, physiology, anything that's really focused, precise movement, intensity, going to have more fire to it. Water, rhythm, yeah, especially if there's a rhythm to the breath and going back to the same movement, very water dominant yoga. Circular movements, water loves to move in circles. When you flush the toilet, it doesn't go straight in, it always goes in a circle. It always loves, so if you can get circles within your yoga practice, then that's going to be more water as well. Flowing movements, softness, keep water. Earth, we've got slow, constant, so if we're doing static resistance exercises, that's going to be more there. I use 8 functional movement patterns. We have from personal trainers, who understand this, we've got 8 main functional movement patterns. So using those 8 functional movement patterns can be very earth to build up the right structure. So if someone's all length forward, we've got this functional movement pattern that pushes forward, then we don't need to exercise the functional movement pattern that pushes backwards. And it's going to be the earth resistance that holds it back in that position, that gets these muscles through the opposite side of that functional movement pattern to hold in position there. So we've got a little introduction to yoga there. Let's have a look at it as a person. What do you think an earth dominant person is going to look like? Solid, big. It's going to be an emphasis on muscles and bones. And we've got water. What do you think a water dominant person is going to look like? Fluidity, curves, yeah. It's going to be more voluptuousness that's there in the body, yeah. Soft, flowing curves. Fire dominant person. Think like a martial arts, roosting. Cut curves, yeah. You can really see the precision in their muscular structure that's there. Air dominant person. Thin, yeah. Often either quite short or quite tall, yeah. There's a real thinness that's there to the body. Ether dominant person. Again, you're not going to see an ether dominant person from the way in which they look. There'll be an expansiveness about them, something that's just flows more than meets their eye. Sometimes they say they have very large foreheads, they philosophize so much about what's going on. Or very tall because they're reaching up to the ethers. But I think really all those physical things are not really it's formless, yeah. It's something you might have to talk to them to discover something deeper inside. Let's start to use this practically, and let's use an overweight person. So we've got someone who got this person that's big, more dominant. What sort of yoga class do you want to give them? Yeah. Do we want to give them an hour of fire? An hour of fire? Do you want to give this person an hour of fire? No. The system is about balance, people. We don't want to kill someone. No, we want to give them all of the elements. We just want to lean towards that which balances them. Yeah? So your ideal yoga class should have all. It should have some mantra, some meditation, it should have some pranayama breath practice, it should have some intensity, it should have some flowing circular movements, and it should have some resistance. No? Yeah, it should be balanced. And then you assess the individual and you go, oh,